Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 29 of Expand the Conversation with Jillian. In today's episode, I have with me my friend Avantika Janji, also known as Avi. She is a professional intuitive reader and Reiki healer who helps ambitious women find clarity and make aligned, confident choices. And in today's episode, she and I had a great conversation about entrepreneurship, navigating visibility wounds and imposter syndrome, the link between visibility wounds, love, and relationships, showing up with authenticity, even in the mess of life. And we talk about trusting the path when things feel uncertain. I truly hope you all enjoy this episode. Avi is absolutely amazing, and we had a great time recording this. So enjoy. All right, on today's episode, I have my friend Avi here with me. She's a Reiki healer, and I'm so excited to have you here. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. So it's pretty warm here today as well. So I'm in England. And yeah, so I'm really excited to connect with you again and yeah, let's see what comes up.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm in Texas and it's always dangerously hot here. So it's 9:30 in the morning and you're already sweating when you go outside. It's just part of the experience, I guess.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I always ask my guests three questions. So my first question I'm going to ask you is, what's your favorite thing right now? And it can be anything, like a book, something material, like anything you're enjoying.
Oh, so recently I've just been really diving deep into astrology
Mm.
and especially Western astrology. I'm just obsessed with like reading about it and like discovering more about my natal chart. So I would say, yeah, maybe favorite thing right now is just like watching and reading astrology books and like watching some YouTube videos too. And I did a course earlier this year on astrology as well, just kind of like basic natal chart. And I think it's been so pivotal in understanding myself to a deeper level. So yeah, that's something I'm really enjoying at the moment.
I love that. Astrology is something I haven't done like a full deep dive in, but I've got a few friends that are like more knowledgeable than I am. Like I know Jupiter just moved into Cancer, and so I was like, I don't even know what that means. My friend's like, what house is it in? I'm like, second. She's like, that's money. And I was like, oh, I'll have it. Like
Oh, that's great.
I
That's a
I
great one
will
to do.
have this. Yes. Absolutely. But it's so cool to like, I love things like human design, astrology, like numerology to really like get to know yourself better. And it always like has these aha moments of like, oh yeah, that's me for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's yeah, it's I feel the same way, like just realizing, especially when you look back at things and then you realize, wow, that is really accurate. That's exactly how it happened. And I think we were talking about it earlier about eclipses and, just new moons and full moons, how they impact us and, where or what part of our lives are they impacting in is really like good to know beforehand. I think it helps you like kind of prepare a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your big three now? I'm curious.
Oh, so I am Cancer rising. I am Sagittarius sun
Okay.
and Taurus moon.
I love it. I love it. I'm my big three are Gemini Sun, Gemini Rising, and Aquarius Moon. So I love I love a Sagittarius. Always get along with Sagittariuses. It's good. Um, so my next question is, what's your favorite way to connect with yourself?
So, I would say it changes depending on the phase of life I'm in. But like for example, last year it was yoga. This year it's just been self-reiki. I've been doing consistently self-reiki every day, and it's I would say it has really changed quite a lot of my just how I connect to myself at a deeper level. And so I try and do it like at the end of the day every day. And sometimes I fall asleep. It's a great way to really help you to kind of relax just before going to bed. But yeah, that's how I connect back to myself when I've had a long day or something like that. Yeah.
I love that. And it's so easy to forget, like, as healers, like, we have this tool for ourselves. In my high energy healing training, like, we had to do 30 days of sending healing to ourselves every other day. And so, in doing that, like, so much was moving and it was
Yeah.
great. And then it's like, you get certified, and then I start taking clients. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to use this in like more places of my life because you can use it in so many ways. And I'm always just like, I'm so stressed. And I'm like, why don't I do this?
Yeah, yeah. We forget that as healers, that we want to help everyone else, and then we realize actually we got to help ourselves too, more so.
Absolutely. It's so important. I was actually having a conversation with a friend last week. I sat in a combo ceremony and and then we trade sessions. And so we're like, man, this was so needed. And it had been like a year and a half since we'd done it. And we're like, we need to do this sooner again.
Wow. I noticed
Oh yeah,
your
my arm. Where
yeah.
That's where it
Wow.
went. That's where it went. People always see it and they're like, "Oh my God, it looks like it hurts." And I was like, "Yeah, that part actually is like the least least painful part."
Oh no way.
Um, the
Yeah.
process is very intense. Very intense. For everyone listening, I do have a podcast episode on the first time I sat in combo ceremony, and it really does feel like you're dying for probably like 15 minutes, and then everything just kind of sorts itself out. And you're like, okay, I'm all right again. And it's like it's almost like sending energy healing to ourselves. Because I think part of what I avoid is having those like truths reflected to me. Like maybe I know deep down like what's going on and what needs to shift. But instead of like wanting to have that reflected back, I'm like, just going to avoid it.
Yeah.
But those ceremonies are similar because I know how physically taxing it is and how hard it is because of the purging period. And it's like the best way I could describe it is like it feels like you have a really intense flu and you just literally feel like you're dying. And then you come out of it and you're like, oh, okay, I am alive.
No way. Yeah. I've heard a lot about it. I feel like I'm just not there yet to try it, but there will come a time when I want to experience it. But yeah,
Yeah.
sounds intense.
It is. You'll see the signs for sure. Whenever frogs start like coming up a whole lot for me, I'm like, I hear
Wow.
you. I hear you guys. It's time.
Oh wow. No way.
Yeah. So the last question is, what is a topic you think needs to be expanded on?
Ooh, love that question. Um, there's always so much on my mind, but I would say something that I've recently, for the last couple of months, actually been really focusing on is kind of, when we take this entrepreneurial journey and we go into it with this sort of a healthy sense of naivety, kind of saying, yes, this is what I want to do. And you kind of jump into it, especially if you have like, spiritual and a coaching business, or a healing business where you kind of go into it, you come from a sense of wanting to help people. What I never realized was the part of sales, marketing, and really putting yourself out there and making money through your gifts and natural talents requires a whole subconscious reprogramming. And so I would say that's the topic I wish I kind of knew a bit more about before. And it's something I suppose you learn it through the journey, but it's also something I feel like some parts of it I would have really loved to address beforehand. Your sort of like visibility wounds, your money wounds. So yeah, I would say those are the really key things I wish were talked about a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, I really relate to that just with the visibility wounds and even the money wounds, right? Because it's like you have to show up. No one's going to show up for you. And that's truly the thing about like owning a business is like initially you're generally the only person doing everything. One woman show, right? And then after that, you just have to keep showing up no matter how uncomfortable it is. And, do you ever Do you ever feel like in having an intuitive led business, was there ever a period for you where you were just like, I don't know if this is like clear for my clients or if this resonates for them as you're like giving feedback?
100%. Yeah. So my business has evolved quite a bit. So I started off, I was an engineer and I had my calling and it started through Reiki. And so I did my Reiki level one 4 years ago now. And I, I I did it and then I felt really connected to it and I started practicing it on people. And then I got into tarot and kind of combining all of those, and then which further now has expanded into coaching, which is where even more feedback I would need because it's very much about like kind of breaking your old patterns, limiting beliefs, looking at subconscious beliefs that we have, how to reprogram that. And I've often questioned, does this resonate? And I think especially maybe you've had this as well when you post something on whether it's on Instagram, YouTube, or somewhere like that, and you don't necessarily always get likes or comments or something like that. You don't know, there's not like a direct feedback whether it resonated with people. But then I think about like me as a previous viewer of like content like that, I wasn't always liking the stuff I was resonating, but and I think that has a wound in itself as well, because you kind of, I mean, I used to think like, oh, I don't want people to know that I'm like really interested in all of this at the moment, especially being from a very scientific background. I didn't like, I wasn't always comfortable. And, and that was a wound in itself of what people are thinking about me. How will they judge me? And I think that's what it is about, like the feedback aspect that you talk about. And I think it comes down to really not wanting to be fully seen as you are, partly because you may have not accepted yourself in those elements yet. But once you do, it starts showing up for others too. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that because it's so true. Like even just with algorithms and the way they work, like and and it's the same with like purchasing things, right? Like I always tell myself, I do the epigenetics and so it's like it's a pricey offer and there's some money that goes into the kits and everything and then I've got to honor my time, which is work in itself as an entrepreneur, right? Like making sure you're priced appropriately
Mm.
and just telling myself, like it takes me time to make a purchase like that. Like I can't tell you how long I've looked at something and then I'm like, all right, now it's go time. Now's the right time. And so believing that that's true too, but like it's true. Like not everybody's going to go on and like and comment something and it's like, is anyone saying this? I constantly feel like I'm just like talking to crickets on Instagram and I'm like, hello.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's and I think a lot of people who are not in this field won't realize this at all. This, like, the background of what, like, our feelings as entrepreneurs, these exact feelings that come up, it doesn't show exactly on Instagram, or like, they won't realize it unless they're in that situation themselves. And then especially now, like I always leave people, I have had sessions with like great testimonials. If I've really, really enjoyed them, I would always make sure their work is promoted, because now I'm on the other side and I can see how like it's so valuable, especially with like small businesses, local businesses. And yeah, if anyone's listening, this, I would say, like, it's so, it can really make someone's day if you recommend their service or just leave a small uh, testimonial, or really just tell your friend or something like that. It really does impact quite a lot. And yeah, and I think that realization comes after you've probably stepped into that path yourself. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where like you'll see things on Instagram like it doesn't have to cost something to like promote your friend's business, right? And it's just it's showing up anyway, even if nobody's doing anything. But it is really hard. And I think it was always harder for me because like with being yourself and being on the internet, like when we talk about visibility wounds, it's that like, oh, nobody likes me. Or, and not directly that, but it's like people see me and they're not responding to it. So how am I going to know if this works?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that I learned in that, exactly with that, how do I know if it's working is actually more so through realizing how is it feeling within you.
Mhm.
If like a year or 2 years ago, the version of yourself watching this would be like, gosh, I need this, I need this in the day to make me feel like, yeah, I can get through now. When you see someone's content, it really resonates with you and you kind of you want more of it. That's the feeling I think really makes a difference when you are feeling like, yeah, the younger version of me would have needed this content for sure and consistently, and when there's a gap. And actually, funnily enough, I took a bit of a gap with my YouTube channel because I was just setting up all the back end stuff. And I took a break from my tarot readings and I thought, it should be fine. I have a smaller audience. They're engaged, but it's like a smaller audience. So I thought, okay, it should be fine. But then I had like 3, 4 people reach out, like, oh, where are the readings? We really enjoy them. And I was like, wow, and I just never knew, like,
Mhm.
that it was that there were certain people who were consistently watching it and really needing that perhaps certain guidance. And we are the channels, for people who really need the guidance, who really need the next steps and how they can improve themselves to the next levels. So yeah, so that was really nice to like kind of get a confirmation that, oh wow, it was working. It's just, and I felt good doing them. It's just, once you step back, you realize, oh, that was making an impact. Yeah.
Yeah. And that always feels so good to have that reflection.
Mm.
And, with with entrepreneurship, it's funny, like you bringing up money wounds, but like money, being in a business or a business owner, like it's putting up a mirror to ourselves, right? Like it's the same as being in a relationship. And it's like, okay, here's the reflection. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And so like adding in the visibility wound of it, it's like, oh, don't see me. Like, why are you showing that back to me? I don't want to, but I'd love to hear like how you really worked through your visibility wounds because the way you show up on Instagram right now is just like so empowered and it's just I'm always like cheering you on. I'm like, "Yes, I love this."
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you've always supported me and yeah, I really appreciate you as well. And I would say the way I worked through my visibility wound has been actually through that I think the way we show up, sort of fully as ourselves on social media is based on what parts of us have we accepted. And we talk about authenticity and being our authentic selves, but I think that has layers. The more you kind of accept parts of yourself. So for example, I often felt like I needed to be an expert in my field before I can fully show up. As though I wouldn't show up. I would just post, things that I had worked on, a post that I had worked on for a long time. I made sure everything was perfect, and everything was kind of backed up with evidence. Yeah, this one I know, so I can post about it. And then when it came to actually speaking on camera and kind of recording reels or like YouTube videos, I felt the fear. I felt like, um what if I mess up? What if I stutter? What if I get something wrong? And that stopped me for so long until I realized there were so many people who I was listening to, whether that was through podcasts or watching their videos. They were showing up at the exact stage that I was in. Like mentally, I knew the stuff that they were talking about. Mentally, I was aware of it. I think within myself didn't feel like enough. And whether you call it imposter syndrome or whether you call it, just more self-belief. That is something I really had to work through by just consistently showing up in the messiness and accepting that the messiness is just a part of it. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what I did. Just showed up, even if it wasn't super perfect, and I still struggle with it at times, but I'm doing more and more of that now.
Good. I love that. And it's so true, like just the messiness of like, I mean, recording podcasts, I like the first season of my podcast, like I was always so, it took me so long to edit the podcast because I'd go through, I'd take out any pauses, any ums, any like stutters, and I was like, I've got like this isn't sustainable. Like I've got to stop. And so I get all these episodes out, and then I was so burnt out from it. I was like, I don't want to edit a podcast. Like I don't even want to look at it. And I'm like, I'm done. And so allowing myself to just say, sometimes I say like a lot and that's okay. Or people are going to say, and even in public speaking, like people always be like, oh my God, you're so good. And I'm like, I'm so uncomfortable in my body right now. But I show up and I just work through it. And so just allowing myself to be human
Mm.
and, remembering that like everybody started somewhere, right? And a friend of mine reflected to me at one point, she's like, you only have to be 10% ahead of your clients. Like, as long as you're working through that thing and you're not like hiding from it or just giving, like speaking on something just because you heard it, right? Like everyone
Yeah.
has certain gifts, everyone has certain things that they're meant to go through. And so as we're going through them, it's like allowing yourself to just fully embody that and then be vulnerable enough to share it because that vulnerability piece is so huge.
Yeah.
And, even with my own visibility wound, it's something that like I've realized like I'm vulnerable in the areas that I'm comfortable in. And then I'm like, nope, that's my wall. Like not going there.
100%. Yeah. I totally relate. Yeah. There was a time where I would talk about career, money, and all these things, but I put a line on relationships. I was like, that's something I'm not going to talk about. That's not the vulnerability I want to share, even though that is literally what my clients come to me for. Like, it's because it's not, we can't separate that part because it's all interlinked. And
Mhm.
since we talked about money and visibility wounds as well, and recently I've been reading a lot about it and how it's actually connected to love and relationships, anyways. So I think I kept a lot of parts of me separate, and I was editing and controlling the way I was showing up. But once you connect it together, you realize actually that is the missing piece. That is what people are wanting anyway, to really step into a higher version of themselves. And one of the things that I realized recently was that how much, how you show up in relationships and in love is actually really connected to your money wounds, and how willing you are to receive money is also reflected in how you are willing to be, willing to receive in your relationships. So when those correlations started to make sense, I realized, okay, this work isn't about one area or this area in itself. It is really about how we create a flow of energy within our lives so that more things can come through like more easily. And yeah, I would say that is a big thing.
Absolutely. And it's funny because like people will talk about their attachment styles and relationships and then they're like, but money won't come. And I'm like, are you avoiding it? Like, what's your attachment style? Let's go into it there because it's
Mm.
so true. Like if you won't let someone support you in a relationship, why would you let money support you? Why would you believe that money is supportive? And adding in the extra layer of like people love to blame money. Like I can't do that because I don't have enough money. And it's like, no, like that's just not in your budget right now. There's ways to like say it if you don't have the financial capacity for it, but you have money. You're just spending it in a different way. And it allows you to be more empowered when you show up that way. But like even in relationships, like where are you struggling in your relationship, right? Or are you even going into that area of your life? Are you avoiding it completely? Because if you're avoiding that, then why would money come in? Because you're also avoiding that relationship on top of it.
100%. Yeah, really well said. It's really linked to your attachment style and what you feel kind of safe in receiving or even giving, or exactly what you talked about, like when someone says, or you say, oh no, I just don't have the money right now, it's so important to reframe it because of the message that we are putting out into the universe. Saying, oh, I just don't have enough right now is a lack way of saying things. And actually, I have a business coach, and she corrected me with this quite early on in our journey, and she was like, it's not that, it's just not the aligned and the right time for it, for that thing that you're wanting, or for even your clients, if they say that, oh, your service is too expensive, or it's too I don't have the money right now to spend on the service. It's really to think about, okay, so they are probably just not quite ready, or there's just trust that needs to be developed. Because I mean, in the past, if there's something I really want, I would find a way to get money. And a lot of us are like that. If someone really wants that like really nice haircut, if they want a new hairdo because they know the transformation will really change their lives, they will find the money to spend on that. And I think that's where it links with sort of perceived value. And I think since we're talking about entrepreneurship and being sort of a service industry, and like how do we perceive ourselves really comes into play. And yeah, and I think all of this, like unpacking all of this, is something I've been really diving deep into, and I think it really impacts how we show up.
Absolutely. It really does. Because and even in talking about like the showing up, even if it's uncomfortable, like it's like the healing, right? Like at no point are we going to be like this elevated, perfect version of ourselves, right? Like we're here to have a human experience. So it's just constantly things are being reflected back to you and showing you like what you can work on next. And like as humans, like we've got the free will to say like, okay, I'm going to go deeper, or no, like this is kind of where I'm comfortable. But it also reflects like, okay, but if you want more money, like, and you're going to stay comfortable, can you take it to the next level? Generally, it's no. Like
Mm.
money wants you to be big. It wants you to step into your power and really say like, hey, no, I want you. And if we compare it to a relationship, like think about if you're dating someone and you're like, no, like I'm in this. Like everybody dates, and then you get to that point of like, are we committed? Like, are you committed to getting money? Are you committed to the relationship? Or are you just like, I want it, but I'm gonna stay in my box and hope that it just like magically comes to me. And I think that's why manifestation actually gets a bad rap, because they're like, oh, you can't just put it out into the universe. I'm like, you can, but you have to take aligned action for it. And if you don't take any action, then you're just basically like saying, okay, I'll have it, please, with your hand out. And it's like, that's not how that works.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, I mean, one example that I felt, was kind of links to that is I was showing up in person. Like when I would talk to someone about my offers, I was really like, really lit up. And that's because I could sense that someone is like open to hearing about my offers or what I do. But when it came to online, I really felt resistance and blocks previously about showing up with basically discussing my offers, talking about my pricing. I used to feel such like a resistance when doing that. And I remember this wound coming up when I was trying to sell my offers, when they were discounted. I was like totally, really selling them. But when it came to, putting them on for full price, which I truly believe was like, what I feel it's worth it. And not that discounts aren't, bad or anything, like they are kind of there as an opportunity for people to see and like jump in. But I remember like I was selling way more when my offer was discounted rather than when it was full price. And I had to really examine that. And I realized that I was doing that because part of me needed to work to the belief that, of course, of course someone is going to buy it at a full price, or just simply showing up as, yes, this offer is transformational, and sitting with that transformation and how it impacted my life previously, and then kind of realizing actually how much of an impact it's going to create in other person's life is really a big thing. And I think when you are pricing or selling your offers, or like putting yourself out there, sort of being more visible, you have to be really stepping into your power, as you said, and really own the fact that you are here making a big impact, and that you are a big deal. That you are a big deal because you've stepped out of the norm, and you've chosen a path which is not everyone can take that path, and you're teaching others and guiding others to step onto that path as well, and that has a huge responsibility. And that's exactly what I started stepping into, that powerful version of myself, every time I was not even selling, but really just providing this transformation to others, and knowing that this is really life-changing. And when you start stepping into that version, I think selling becomes easy, or your visibility wounds are basically addressed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really relate to that, because it's like I for a long time was like uncomfortable with being like, I'm an energy healer, like this is what I do. And it's something that I believe in to my core. And it's like, but I felt so uncomfortable like showing up and saying that to people because it's not common. Like, and again, I live in Texas, so like it's not super common. And then I just found myself, I was like, you know what? People ask me what I do now. I'm like, this is what I do. Like, take it or leave it. Like, sometimes people are like, interesting. And they have questions, and other people, like, there's a lot of doubt there, and that's fine. That's where they're at. But, and it's not on me to convince them. And I think, like, I had to get to that point in my stage of, like, I'm not going to convince you to work with me. I'm not going to convince you to believe in what I believe in. And it's really funny to me because in religion, like people don't expect that, but with energy healing, they do. They're like, you believe in that, tell me why. And I'm like, I don't have to. Like, there's signs all around. Like, I don't have to explain anything to you, you know?
100%. Yeah, that's a big one. And I think a lot of people feel that, like, spiritual business, because it's a spiritual business, there's the money link with spirituality is like, really, I think it still has resistance there. And a lot of people who step into the path also have that resistance, just because in the past, a lot of, spiritual gurus perhaps didn't charge in a sort of normal way, but they were still getting paid. The whole village was like bringing them food, providing them shelter, and paying in many different ways. And now we are sort of in a modern day, kind of are kind of promoting spiritual teachings in a different way. And of course, that's got to be funded because, yeah, we've got to make a living too, but also because it's very valuable work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it just supports people so much in ways that they don't even understand. And it's so beautiful. Like once people experience, they're like, wow, and it's like you just got to get on board. And then you can have like these amazing shifts happen, like we were talking about with the eclipse and the full moon. It's like you don't know what's coming, but you trust it. And I think the more I've dove into spirituality, that trust piece has just been like so much more available to me. My human and ego still get involved, and that's where like the emotions come in, but allowing myself to feel it and then just keep trusting, that's all I can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally resonate with that.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. But we are just about out of time. So I wanted to ask you where people can find you if they want to work with you, or if they want to follow you, let them know where.
Yeah, so I am pretty active on Instagram, and my Instagram is just my full name with no spaces, which is Avantika Janji. It's a long name. Blame my Indian roots, but yeah, I think as soon as you type AVA, my name would come up. Um, yeah, that's where I do daily content about just subconscious patterns. How can you work through them? Spiritual guidance. I talk about Reiki, tarot, and all the fun stuff. And you can find all my offers there. I'm also on YouTube, which is Readings by Avantika, which is just tarot readings. So if you want weekly guidance, you can follow me there. I also have a podcast called Psychic Engineer, which Gillian has been a wonderful guest on. And you can find, yeah, my podcast there, and which is on Psychic Engineer at on YouTube channel. So yeah, you can find me on all those channels, and I would love to connect with you.
Awesome. And I will put the full spellings in the show notes. That way people can just click and go to it because Avi is really an amazing healer. And like I said previously, I love your content and I think it's so important what you're doing and how you're helping people really step into their power. And it's so beautiful. But thank you so much for being on. Yeah, I've loved this so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved talking about all these topics, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are going to find this helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to Expand the Conversation podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review of the podcast on your favorite platform. Your feedback means the world to me. If you have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions for future episodes, reach out to me on social media. I would love to hear from you. To let me know you are listening and stay updated on all things Expand the Conversation, be sure to follow and tag me on Instagram at expandtheconversation.podcast. If you know someone who would benefit from this episode, please share it. See you next time.